to the Rare Record Room. Thanks for joining me again. As regular viewers may have noticed, the majority of records in my collection are British or American pressings, although I have been tempted on occasion to purchase overseas pressings, particularly the quality vinyl one might find in France, Germany or Japan, for example, especially when there is something unusual or perhaps unique to that country's release. Today's offering certainly fits into that category, having never been made available in Britain or America. The record in question is the Rolling Stones' 1964 album Around and Around. This unusual early LP was only released in Germany and France. Available from September 1964, this was the Stones' second LP in both of those countries, following their Europe-wide self-titled debut album released in April 1964. While the band were in the studio recording their second British LP, Decca assembled this 12-track compilation exclusively for the French and German markets, being a compilation of the first two British EPs, The Rolling Stones and 5x5, plus a couple of singles and B-sides including their cover of Lennon and McCartney's I Wanna Be Your Man and Not Fade Away, both of which had appeared as the lead songs on two 1964 EP records released in France, plus their second German single It's All Over Now, which had reached number 14 in the German singles chart, together with its British B-side Good Times, Bad Times. The album features the usual 60s lineup from left to right here of Brian Jones, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Charlie Watts and Bill Wyman, accompanied by the Stones' co-founder, pianist and percussionist Ian Stu Stewart, seen here holding the maracas. Stu plays piano on the Chuck Berry title track and Confessin' the Blues, plus organ on If You Need Me and 2120 South Michigan Avenue. The producer was Andrew Oldham, shown left here, wearing sunglasses. The front cover for both countries is the same, being a striky, moody colour portrait of the band, with Mick Jagger in a mod-style striped grey jacket holding a cigarette and with his eyes closed, and Charlie and Brian both dapper in their button jackets, both sporting bootlace ties, Brian's being paired with rounded collars. The rear sleeves differ, however, the French version with text printed in red and black and with flipbacks to the top and bottom, whereas the German cover features a more exciting black and white photo of the band on stage in Europe, the gig being broken up by riot police, Charlie Watts catching his cymbal stand, which has been knocked over, and Mick being grappled by a female fan while an apparently amused Keith watches on, still playing his guitar. There are different catalogue numbers for each, both appearing at the top left and right corners of the sleeve. Moving on to the vinyl itself, the 1964 German pressing is by Teldec Telefunken Decca on a deep red label printed in gold with the 1950s style lozenge-shaped Decca logo, the full frequency range recording roundel at the 12 o'clock position, or FFRR, and the 33 RPM playing speed in an upturned triangle at the 6 o'clock position. There is a deep pressing ring around 15mm from the spindle hole. This has the catalogue number BLK 16315-P. It was reissued in 1970 on a bright red label with boxed Decca logo in black. The catalogue prefix has subtly changed from BLK to SLK, but the number is unchanged. A further reissue appeared a few years later with a similar label design but with subtle typographic changes. The main difference is a new catalogue number 621392. A further reissue came in 1976 with the same catalogue number but issued on the Decca Nova label, which is a two-tone yellow and green design. And in 1988 it was reissued again on the familiar 80s style silver Decca label with red and blue trim. It has another new catalogue number and the label states Made in West Germany. The first French pressing from 1964 is on a Disques Decca black record label with text printed in silver. This label also features the vintage lozenge-shaped Decca logo at the 12 o'clock position below the Made in France statement. The catalogue number 158.012 appears at the 3 o'clock position, and the notice Première Publication 1964 can be found in the 9 o'clock position just above the BIEM logo within a box, this referring to the French-based international organisation representing artists' rights. The lower rim text in French is an all rights reserved, and the label area has a fairly wide central ring pressed around 20mm from the spindle hole. It is housed in a smart tracing paper bag with a folding dust flap at the top and is printed in red with a large Decca logo. This version was sold in France for the rest of the decade. Later sleeves are identified by later date codes. The record was reissued in France in 1970 with a similar black Decca label, but the BIEM Right Society logo has been replaced by SACEM. The rear of the sleeve now features light blue text instead of the red used in the 1960s. In 1973, the LP was reissued in stereo only as Volume 2 of the French and Belgian Golden Age retrospective series, the album now titled Not Fade Away. It has a deluxe gatefold sleeve with a new cover photo of Keith Richards and a rear photo of the band on stage during the 60s. The label is the unboxed Decca design with the FFSS band, like the UK's 60s style, printed in silver on black paper. In 1978, the Golden Age series was deleted and the record was again reissued, reverting to the original non-gatefold sleeve with the original cover photo. The label for this pressing is the box Decca design on a blue label as shown here with the FFSS silver band. This edition features a nice photographic insert printed in black and white on both sides. Finally, the LP was repressed in the 80s for the rest of Europe. Pressed in Holland, this Dutch version featuring the familiar 80s style silver Decca label with red and blue trim around the perimeter. Now to values. A glance at the Discogs archive shows an average price of £40 for the 1964 German pressing, while the French original averages a little more at £50, although top copies of both have sold for over £100. The Golden Age gatefold reissue averages £15 to £20, and for all the other French or German later pressings, you should expect to pay no more than £15. And that just about brings to an end my brief history of the French and German pressings of the Rolling Stones LP Around and Round. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.